Hey guys, some of you have asked me about um, trading perspectives on some of the leading stocks, equity issues out there. I thought I'll make a video on my perspective on Tesla and recent price movement. So I've pulled up a chart here in my Thinkorswim platform for Tesla. This is a 15-minute chart, and I have a few indicators on here. I'll just zoom in a little bit to maybe give perspective of like how I'm looking at this. So just click on over here to see what indicators I have on. Hopefully this is okay. It won't be legible to you guys based on how I share my screen, but I'll just tell you what these are. So I have a 100 period moving average on here, which is this one. Then I have a 50 period moving average as well. Yes. And I also have the weekly VWAP on here. Okay, so the volume weighted average price. So those are three, I guess, traveling barometers that I generally use to gauge intent. Right. It's obvious over here, given that the price has been below all three markers, traveling markers, clearly shows where the um, most volume has been on the buy side or the sell side, right? It's been on the sell side, which is also reflected in this chart wide volume profile that I have here on the right. So this basically gives me all the activity as a volume weighted price on the far right side. That is not a TPO. It's not a time based aggregation, but it's a volume based aggregation that I've put on here. Now that kind of shows us the big picture of what the activity has been in Tesla. So before I go into the details about like what we should expect in the coming, I guess, days or weeks, it helps to just divide this chart up into um, two main areas, right? Whoops. So something like this maybe. So just pay attention over here a little bit. This might be too large. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to draw this rectangle to show you guys the way I'm looking at this. It appears that there was spike-ish type action right over here when the price migrated from the 680-ish zone to the 760 plus and above zone, right? There hasn't been much activity in this area. This is the longer time frame, bullish intent. Obviously, this is the institutional intent for as and when the bias on um, Tesla changed to have a valuation of the underlying company in this zone versus where it was before, right? Which was sub 650, sub 660 before. Now, these, if you look at it from the perspective of like tracking intraday future movement, they're not single prints as such. There are few single prints right here, these really thin markers. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Hopefully we can do the compressed job nice here. Let's see. Am I able to drag this up? Yeah, I am. Okay, good. So I guess this zone over here is somewhat of a single print. Maybe, okay, not so much over here, but this zone is definitely a single print right here. Okay, let's see if I circle this. And of course, I have all my colors exactly the same. Let me just move that away. All right, so it's definitely going to try and test this area. That is a given. Why? Because of the spikeish nature of that action. That price, those prices have not seen much volume at all. Basically, is how I interpret this. This area over here has seen a ton of volume, right? The 870, 860 actually is where the main edge seems to be. Right over here, the main edge, 860 to about interestingly, 835, right? So this fairly narrow zone for a mover like Tesla to have seen a lot of action here and then um, decreasing action all the way down to the other high value node, which would be here. The HVN would be here, 666, right? The other HVN edge coming in and around nicely at 680, 674. And then if this HVN once tested and let's say rejected, then the value migration that is already underway. Value is migrating from the 850 area down over here to test this zone, but then it eventually migrates back over to the 630. Right. This is normally how I guess we see. I analyze futures, and many volume profile traders tend to analyze underlying instruments in terms of where is value accumulation happening, how is value transitioning from one high volume, high activity area to another high volume, high activity area. Testing these single prints or these thin profiles, right? To frankly assess whether the folks who bid up this price, the institutional investors who did so, are they still there, or have they also changed their view of Tesla to have maybe a lower value? So what I expect happening here from this point forward, if this zone continues, so this is called a look below and go. If it goes, looks below and goes, right? If this is a look below and go, then I am expecting an HVN to start forming right in this area. So I'm going to mark this now. How do I mark this? Fine, right here. Okay, so that's about the 730. I expect this edge to be tested, 687, and I expect, of course, value to form in this area in the next, couple of weeks, maybe even months, who knows. So big picture, that's what I'm looking at. Now I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click on the plus over here and just zoom in a little bit to see what's been going on recently, right? So I have these gap fill markers. They're not really needed as such. It's not a futures instrument where I feel that's kind of more relevant for trades, but it kind of helps to see as and when Tesla gaps up, as an example over here, right? What was this date? This was, I think, what date was this? The 8th of February when it actually gapped up. So if you just take this example here, it gaps up on the 8th of February, right here. Nice big, whoa, click here. But then it's rejected, right? A secondary high forms under 881, whatever this is, 881, secondary high forms. And then it rejects that area slowly and tries to fill the gap, but is not able to. But it does fill half gap, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, right here. Yeah. So it does fill half gap, gets rejected at the VWAP, actually gets rejected twice. First over here around 930, and then gets rejected nicely over at 1215 before it closes below its point of control, right? It's like 867. And that is a very important marker. So we looked below, right over here, looked below and failed. Let's see if I can put some text on here. I'm better at putting text on my NinjaTrader charts, but so look below and fail over here, I'm going to say LBF. But then guess what? This is also a rejection. So I'm going to say look above and fail over there. And in my opinion, just looking at it from the perspective, actually a better look below and fail is probably this one, right? So this was expected to go breach 900 and keep going. Excuse me. But that didn't happen. So we got a laugh over here, we got an LBF over here, and we are coming slowly down here, staying under the main markers, the 50 exponential, the 100 exponential, and also really important weekly VWAP, right? The weekly volume weighted average price stays below all of that and is trying to test this area one more time. Big picture, you know why it's doing that, right? It's doing that because there's an institutional footprint here. It's a really low volume, significant increase in the underlying value, the perception of the underlying value of the company. But then guess what? This was bound to happen, right? The Tesla rose from 600. I guess this zone. I'm just going to talk in terms of HV, this rose from 640 all the way over to an 860. That's a difference of 200 points. Just the principle of mean reversion would expect us to have an HVN here and make a trimodal kind of a formation, right? The 860, the 730, 40, what have you, and then 640. Now, I do not actually expect Tesla to ever come back and settle in this zone. It might come here for a brief test, potentially test the round number, I guess 700, or maybe even a 650 or this HVN over here, and that's it. before it takes off again, because it is not an auto company, it's not a car company, right? It's an energy company, and it's doing all the right things and making all the right moves. Anyway, so that's my perspective on Tesla. Um, I believe I've covered everything I wanted to cover. I highlighted the big picture first, and I used the chart based volume profile. And I spoke also about the traveling parameters that I use, the traveling parameters, namely the 50 and the 100 exponential moving averages and a weekly VWAP. I haven't spoken too much about the individual daily, I believe those are daily volume profiles. Yeah, they're daily. It makes sense if you're holding on to options or adding vertical spreads on Tesla based on your bearish or bullish sentiments towards it. Maybe if you feel that this point of control over here being 867 is a naked point of control, price hasn't touched it and has actually gapped down hard and then failed here at this 50, you expect this zone right here. Let me just mark this with the trend line. You expect this zone to be serving as strong resistance, this area to be serving as strong resistance. So you potentially could play, trades that were bearish towards this. And then once you start to see the price settle above these traveling barometers, you potentially want to take a bullish trade back into the test of this HVE and a potential tag of the naked POC, right? That's how points of control work. They act as magnets. Um, Okay, so that's Tesla for you guys. I'm gonna end this video here, but I'll make another one on a different company, maybe Apple. We'll see. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe. Appreciate you guys coming and watching. Thank you.